Hi, it's Justin Sullivan from New Model Army. You're watching Music News.
Justin Sullivan, it's great to see you again.
Hello, this is becoming a routine, isn't it?
It is. A very, very nice routine for me. Is it the December show, the Christmas show? Is it one that you look forward to?
I'm not sure. It depends where we are in the what we're doing, where we're at. Yeah, I mean it's a sort of, again, like we said, it's a bit routine.
Yeah.
But each year we get close to it and we go, what should we do this year? And we think about it a bit. But this year comes in the middle of we started work on the next record.
Yeah.
We're not playing anything new tonight, but we have got new stuff, and that really is where our head's at.
Yeah.
But then it's quite nice. Christmas comes around, and you think, let's play some different stuff from what we normally play. So we have to go back and learn some different old stuff, which is kind of cool.
Oh, good. So we're going to get a few tunes that haven't been played for a while.
Yeah.
Excellent. Looking forward to it. Are you a Christmas person yourself?
What's a Christmas person?
You put the tree up each year?
No, but I'm never at home. I go to places that have got trees instead.
Good.
It's a bit like that.
It's been a great year for New Model Army, not least for Night of 1,000 Voices.
A Thousand Voices was great. I had this idea, and I had to sell it to everyone. Actually, I thought it would be. What struck me about it most is that it's weird that no one else has ever done it before.
Yeah, true.
Because it's such an obvious idea that because every band has the experience of playing the first verse of something quite quiet, and the crowd sings it, and the crowd loves singing it and hearing each other, and the band loves hearing it and stuff. So why not do a whole night of that? But no one has ever done it before. And I remember when I first suggested it, people saying, "Yeah, but will people sing?" I said, "Of course they'll sing." And I never had any doubts about it. And when we did it, there was a bit of guesswork. And looking back, I think we played a little bit louder than we perhaps should have done. I think I sang a little bit more than I needed to. But generally speaking, I think we got most of it right. The building was fantastic, and putting the stage in the middle in a kind of weird angle, that kind of worked really well, and everything about it worked really well. And I think we sort of did it. I think we enjoyed it, but we were kind of conscious of it being such a different setup. It was when we got the tapes back and we listened to it, we went, this was amazing. And then me and Michael made an agreement about 3 years ago when we were doing Dog and Wolf. We were never going to mix anything again ever. We were going to give it to proper mixers. And we started mixing this one ourselves. And it was quite difficult actually. And we did it badly twice. And then eventually we gave it to Lee, who mixed Winter. And he did a fantastic job. It sounds amazing actually.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear it. I haven't heard it myself actually. I was lucky enough to be there obviously a couple of days.
I've got a copy upstairs, I could give you one.
Fantastic. Looking forward to that. What were your most sort of the highlights of that weekend? I mean, I remember the sort of the sun bursting through on the Sunday.
On the Sunday, yeah, that was a moment.
Yeah.
I think there was a few. I think on the very first night we kicked off with Bob and Pill, and at the end of that there was this huge round of applause, and I think it was because everybody that came wasn't sure if it was going to work either. It was kind of us singing, how's this going to work? And then obviously you get to the end of the first song and they all went, it was a kind of a round of applause of relief. It works. And then everybody sort of got into it. There was that, and there was a couple of moments, obviously Vagabonds on the Saturday night, but I think These Words was particularly special for me. I remember, and there were a couple of other moments where I was going, people saying, tears were shed, and I was going, yeah, for me I had a lump in my throat every now and again. There was something, if you think about it, that singing together is about the oldest form of human culture there is. I guess we all did it around campfires in caves, millennia ago. And if you go anywhere in the world where people are working, as long as there's not loud machinery in fields and stuff, people sing, and it's the most bonding thing. This is singing together in a car going on a long journey, singing together. It's a very human bonding thing, and they were special nights, really.
Yeah, I mean, a reason that a lot of other people probably haven't done it as well is, the lyrical content. I mean, at the end, it was a joyous, uplifting event and moment, but it defines you lyrically. I mean, your trademark.
It was interesting. It was interesting when we did the warm up for it. We gathered 30 people with sort of volunteers together to try it out in Bradford in the February, to see what would work and how it worked. And somebody said it's different singing the big anthemic things to singing and the sort of generalised view of the world things to singing songs which are obviously very personal. Not everybody said that, but that was one observation. What I also observed, it's quite interesting in a way, singing Vagabonds, we're all in it together, la 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 la, great. But singing the very angry ones, Believe It, Liberal Education, Lights Go Out, 1,000 people singing those angry ones together, that was something else. I really liked that. Believe It was absolutely phenomenal. Just 1,000 people going it's like
yeah, no, it's a real night of emotions. I absolutely loved it. Is it something that you might repeat, maybe?
Well, sometimes we quite like the idea of just never repeating it, but we haven't said we will repeat it, we haven't said we won't. There's a lot of people, especially in Germany, but all over Europe and stuff, say, "Oh, come and do it in our country."
Wow. I was actually thinking, and the church in Germany.
Unfortunately, there's a 40th anniversary coming up, so we'll have to do something special then. We haven't really decided.
Yeah, has it kicked off any other ideas then, creatively, something different?
Part of typical us. In one sense, yes, you think you take on board this thing of singing and lots of voices, which I do like. I like the sound of it and stuff, and it is something we were talking about, but even before we did 1,000 Voices. But at the same time, there's something about that was so warm and communal and almost sort of I'm trying to think of the right word. Well, warm and communal about that it makes us go the other way. Now let's make something fucking dark. We're a bit like that as a band. Once you've done something, you kind of want to do the opposite.
Yeah.
The next album we've started work on, I don't want to say too much about it, but it's going in sort of slightly different direction. But early days.
I mean, how far down the line are we?
We've written some songs. We've got a lot of other ideas. We met with Lee and Jamie last night, who helped us on Winter. Lee mixed Winter, and they recorded a lot of it. And we're going to be more involved with them this time, which isn't to say we're making another Winter, but I think really trust them actually as sort of producers and ideas. And they're a lot younger than. Excuse me. Can I call you back in 5 minutes? Okay. So yeah, we're talking about a slightly different approach to things, and anyway, yeah. I don't want to say too much about it really, because sometimes you start off with one idea and then that revolves into the next idea. So it's better to wait till we're kind of there.
Yeah. Any particular?
Is that just fall out of anything? Out of what we've written so far, yeah, some good stuff. What can I say?
I look forward to it.
I mean, interesting time. I will say though that we were playing this stuff to Lee and Jamie last night, and they said that it's strangely not as so far anyway, not as dark as Winter, which is strange given the circumstances in which we're writing. But maybe it's that human thing of wanting. If you're in the darkness, looking for light. I always say this thing about music, which is that it tends to be that the most celebrationary, bonding, happy is the wrong word, but yeah, celebrationary music tends to come from the darkest places where life is difficult, tough, cheap. Whereas the most brutal, dark anti-music, comes from places like Scandinavia, where because human beings want a balance. If everything is kind of easy, they search after something. They go into the dark side. If your everyday life is stuck in the dark side, then you're desperate to create something the opposite of. A little bit like goes back to when I was writing Navigating by the Stars, and everybody said, you did this boat trip across the Atlantic and you wrote it there. No, I did the boat trip across the Atlantic afterwards, and Navigating by the Stars was all written in Bradford, wishing I was by the sea. Because if you've got what you want, you don't need to write about it. And that making music or creativity, I think, is trying to yearn after something you haven't got, you need, And so, as I said, that it seems to be lighter, looking for light so far.
Is it very current then? A lot of current topic?
Well, there's unending things you can write about right now, but in general we tend not to write specific. Sometimes we do. On the last album there was a song called Die Trying, which is very much written about the jungle in Calais, because I went past it every day, well, every week, and almost impossible not to write. But in terms of the general, it was interesting. Winter was written before Brexit, but I knew what was going to happen anyway. It was kind of obvious what was coming. Those people that said they were surprised by the result weren't paying attention, and there were so many lines on that album. I was out the door before I had a chance to think, my God, what have I done? And I would have looked at that line the day after Brexit and I was going, yeah. But and then the whole idea of Winter, is looking, you realise you're going into a kind of crisis period and you're almost looking beyond it into something. I mean, we are entering the age of consequence. That's a line I stole actually. But we've been writing about this for a long time. There's no need to write about it more, in a sense.
Yeah, no.
It's sort of looking, in a sense, we are entering this perfect storm of what humanity in general, let alone the English, because Brexit is an English project. What we're facing.
Yeah. What about creatively? Are you involved in any other things apart from outside of New Model Army?
No, not really. Creatively.
Have you ever thought about writing a book?
Oh yeah, I've thought about it. The thing about writing a book is that you could write the story of New Model Army. Yeah, I haven't got the ending. It's just like people write the autobiographies. There's no great need. And people have always approached us in order to saying they want to write the story of New Model Army. We've always told them bugger off, and there's no ending yet.
So what about more personal sort of
personal anecdotes? I also, growing up through many years living with Jules, who's such a wonderful writer of prose. I'm not a wonderful writer of prose actually. I haven't tried that much, but I'm not bad at doing songs, and by comparison with her, I'm just rubbish writer of prose. And she's sort of half written bits about the story of New Model Army, and she's sort of but I don't know. There are all sorts of anecdotes, some bad, some good. Some things people don't really need to know.
Yeah, that's true.
I sort of, it's a little bit like social media. I'm personally, obviously there's a New Model Army Facebook in order to tell people what's going on who are Facebook people. But personally, I'm not on any of those things. I don't keep sane by keeping private life away from it all. You know,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
not
yeah.
my private life's definitely not public, and we've always been like that actually as a band. We're not terribly. We haven't entered this new media age of telling everybody what we're doing all the time. Not into that really.
No. What was musically? What are your ambitions these days? What's sort of left for you to achieve?
Quite a lot. You know, because there's always you're always having new musical ideas. There's always ways of doing New Model Army that you know, the last couple of albums have been quite different. Dog and Wolf was kind of a big left turn. Winter was back into something else. There's always new things to try. Music is this sort of weird magic. Listening to it, playing it, creating it. It is magic. It turns one thing into something else. Therefore, it is magic, and it's a sort of refuge. It makes sense of the world when nothing else does. I mean, you discover this is when you're 12, 13. I've said this before, but the grown-ups tell you how the world is built. This happens because of this. You know, if you have decent education or good people around, good grown-ups around you that are able to try to explain the building blocks of the world, you gain a kind of knowledge as you're growing up, which is wonderful. But what they can't explain to you is what it feels like. And then when you're 12, 13, you start listening to music or start reading books or art. But for a lot of us, you know, growing up as kids, it was music that you put on something and you listen and you go, that's what it feels like. I couldn't explain it. There's no explanation for any of this in a logical way. But yeah, that's what it feels like. I mean, it's really important for people.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, what music helps you escape when you listen?
Oh, when I was a kid, quite a lot of celebration music. I always say my first love is sort of Tamla Motown and Northern Soul, and it is that whole soul, 60s soul stuff, really. But lots of other bits and pieces. I remember hearing My Generation by The Who when I was 10 and going, ah! Running around the house. I couldn't believe anyone would allow people to make a record that was that kind of anarchic with all the feedback and the drum rolling at the end. It was like Quadrophenia when I was, how old was I when Quadrophenia came out? 16. That was a big album for me.
Yeah.
Some of the middle period Pink Floyd before Dark Side of the Moon, Echoes, I loved that when I was 14. It's like other world, you know. Oh, lots of stuff, lots of folk stuff.
Days, any new sort of stuff that you're into?
Yeah, I find stuff every now and again that I get crazy about. Last year it was Zeal and Ardor single, Devil Is Fine. Oh, that was just brilliant. I got the album, and there's lots of things I like about the album, but the album generally, it was that single that I just think is brilliant. And there's a version on YouTube of them playing it sort of live in a TV studio, and I'm going, that's just brilliant. And every time I hear it, I go, oh, I feel, oh yeah, you know. So there's things like that, really. Just odds and ends. I mostly listen for music. I listen to FIP a lot. FIP is a French radio station. You find it on the internet. And basically it's wall-to-wall music. Anything from any genre released from 1920 to yesterday. And you've got no idea what's coming next. They do play a lot of jazz, which sometimes I go, oh, yeah. But the other day they had a load of jazz and I was going, oh. And then they played, was it something from Quadrophenia? Then they played J.D. McPherson, and then they played something from Chopin, and then they played something really good, electronica or something. It just really mixed. You got no idea what is coming next, and I really loved that. And they play a lot of new music, which is kind of cool. This is where I discovered Zeal and Ardor. A lot of new music that I don't know. You know, in order to find new music now, if you sort of go on to Spotify, you can, if you like this, you'll like this. It doesn't work very well for me. I quite like either friends going, you should hear this, or going to a radio station like FIP where people are listening to everything that comes in and picking what they consider the best. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll have to check it out.
I mean, there is great music out there being made all over the place. what reaches the mainstream. This is a very conservative era, so what reaches the mainstream tends to be copies of something that happened 30 years ago, which is kind of dull. But there is a lot of stuff out there that's really exciting.
Which, I mean, you seem to be playing, New Model Army seem to be played a lot more on BBC Six Music these days.
Yeah, but they seem to play stuff from before 1990 mostly, which is kind of annoying.
Yeah, possibly.
But that's the trouble is with Six Music is it's a little bit like sort of the Jules Holland show. They've got a kind of listenership and an audience, and they kind of know what they want, and that's what they give them. But it's quite narrow. It's quite a narrow band.
Yeah. What countries do you think you get played mostly on sort of media-wise radio stations? Do you think?
I don't know because I'm not paying attention. I don't really know or care. I mean, I hope people are playing it out there. I know that there are some, late night radio stations in the back end of Caracas somewhere that play New Model Army. I don't know.
I know, it's always a joy when that.
It's strange being a cult band, because basically a cult band means you mean an extraordinarily large amount to an extremely small amount of people. There's dotted people around the world that go, New Model Army is the band, my band. And they're everywhere, but not in massive numbers anywhere, but they are everywhere.
Yeah,
I thought it was interesting on 1,000 Voices how people came from all over the world for that.
Yeah,
from Brazil, from West Coast of America, of course from all over Europe, and it was like, wow.
Yeah, no, it was a fantastic event, and congratulations for thinking of it, really. And again, congratulations for your time. Thanks for the music. I look forward to the show. Was it going to be 2 sets tonight, or
no.
1 set support?
No, it's 2 supports tonight. It's Sean McGowan and a band called the Shattercones who wrote to us and said, can we support? And we do get that quite a lot, and we just kind of liked them. So
excellent. I look forward to it. Thank you very much for your time. Pleasure.